Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for tuning in. We have so much to talk about. There's a lot going on. Obviously, there's a great deal going on. But you have to look at things from the perspective of why are they taking place. I'll tell you why they're taking place. It's all because of my wonderful political astute observations on the Democratic Party. You see, all we had to do was wait. We had to wait for the No Malarkey tour to just say, only one term, no malarkey, one term, no malarkey. And that's all you need to do. That's why Madam Secretary is going to win. So, Luke St. Martin, thank you. Eric H526, thank you. Thank you, everybody, for watching. What did I say would take place? I said that you're going to have a lot of things happen that ordinarily wouldn't happen. You're going to have things take place like Clinton is going to be the nominee. That's obvious. I've been saying that, of course, since 2017. The article in the Huffington Post is below. And I say it obsessively, of course, every segment. I've been saying it every single segment, obviously, okay? It's happening. And it's happening the same way that I've been saying it's going to take place. But you got to ask yourself, why is all of this taking place? Why would a presidential candidate say they're only going to serve one term? Now, obviously, Biden is just paving the way, essentially a placeholder for Clinton. There is no Democratic primary. This is even more absurd than 2016. But you're seeing people, especially on the left, slowly realize that everything I've said has been right, and I'm a Trump supporter. Now, I was the biggest Bernie Sanders booster on the internet, according to the Huffington Post, the unofficial scribe of Sanders' most hardcore voters, according to... Now, that's according to the Huffington Post, and that's according to the Washington Post, the last quote. But here, Biden signals that he would serve only one term, Politico. But this is a Slate article. Let's see what it says. Joe Biden doesn't want to serve. If Joe Biden doesn't want to serve 2 terms, he shouldn't run for president. I agree with one of the few times I agree with Slate. And I'm just going to read this again. If Joe Biden doesn't want to serve 2 terms, he shouldn't run for president. Now, this is just confirmation that Clinton is going to before or after, but almost certainly after, certainly at some point, but Clinton is going to become nominee, obviously run. Thank you, Eric H526. But this is a Slate article, and I agree with it. If Joe Biden doesn't want to serve 2 terms, he shouldn't run for president. This is from the vantage point of the most liberal publication, perhaps one of the, if not the most liberal, one of the most liberal, if not the most liberal publications, in America. So Joe Biden's campaign has been dogged by questions about whether at age 77 he is still healthy and mentally acute enough to serve a full 2-term presidency. But now Politico's Ryan Leza reports advisors close to the former vice president are saying that he likely wouldn't even try. Why not? Who cares? So what if if he would be 82? That makes no sense at all. Obviously, he was never really running. Obviously, Clinton's going to run. I'm the only person on planet Earth who has stated this since 2017. I saw all of this 30 miles away. But let's just look at this from the vantage point that this isn't a farce and a giant theatrical performance. Who cares? I don't care if Trump is 85, 86, 87, 90. If he let's say, in another world, with the way things are going now, he's a great president. Now, Democrats and liberals, I mean, they view him to be the end of humanity. But if you look at it objectively, you just take out, I actually like his personality for the most part. But I like Trump's personality. I think he's hilarious. Almost all the time he's hilarious. And they say, oh my God, he's immoral. Yeah, so he's a lot more immoral than Bill Clinton. You want to go there? Let's go there. And they say, well, that's whataboutism. Yeah, you're basing your judgment on morality on a pedestal built by Democrats and who runs the Democratic Party, essentially, two people. If you say, well, Trump is such a bad human being, and you voted for Hillary Clinton, well, then, you don't really have a moral posture, or you don't have a moral vantage point where you can judge others. But ladies and gentlemen, you look at what's taking place. Look at what's taking place right now with impeachment, with everything going on. Trump keeps winning. The notion that he would be worried about Biden, especially today, it's completely absurd. He doesn't care. He never cared about Biden, so he would never. The premise of impeachment is that he really worried about Joe Biden, and therefore, because he worried so much about the Biden campaign, he tried to leverage another nation and withhold military monetary assistance, because, he was worried that Biden would defeat him. Biden doesn't even want to serve 2 terms, so I don't think Trump is really worried. Furthermore, he was never worried about Biden. The impeachment is just from it's purely from the Democratic Party standpoint. Well, we have stated that he's number one. So if he's number one in our eyes, surely Trump is petrified of him. No, Trump doesn't care. He knows very well. President Trump knows very well that Clinton is going to become nominee. He knows very well Clinton's going to be nominee. But they're going to impeach him. Clinton's going to come and enter, who knows when, but she'll enter. And she will lose again to Trump. But in the meanwhile, we have to deal with this nonsense. So, some in Biden's circle, this is the Slate article, some in Biden's circle are urging him to make a public one-term pledge. That would sink his campaign completely. Why would you vote for a candidate that doesn't even want to be in office for 8 years? What if there was record low Black and Latino unemployment, national unemployment? What if he had a foreign policy success like being the first president to step foot in North Korea? So, you have to ask yourself, what if theoretically, he's not going to be nominee, he's not going to be president, but what if his presidency was a good presidency? What if he achieved the things that Trump is achieving now? Why wouldn't he go 2 years? That makes no sense. 2 terms. Why wouldn't he? And then you have just the most, such contempt. This is an opinion piece in the New York Times. Not even Bush, the worst president of all time, George W. Bush with Cheney and Rumsfeld. He didn't even get these types of articles. Opinion, let Trump have a miserable little Christmas? What? What kind of article is that to publish? Just the heading. Why would you do that? Why would you? Where this contempt is completely manufactured. It's just a temper tantrum. It has nothing to do with what's actually taking place. They know Trump's going to win. They know that right now, there's no chance that anyone on that debate stage, the Democratic Party debate stage, can defeat Trump. They know this. So they just continue with the petulant articles and the titles, the headlines, just full of this insidious, this almost why would you let Trump have a miserable little Christmas? Why? Because there's record low unemployment, because wages are rising, because the stock market has hit all-time highs. In addition to unemployment, we have job creation that consistently beats estimates. And so the economy is doing better than at any point in President Obama's administration, or Bush's administration, mind you, as well. So the pure contempt, it's like, but here, let's get back to this article. This is far from a done deal. The candidate himself is wary of making any explicit promises, for fear it would immediately make him a lame duck. Yeah, it would. And another advisor told Ryan Lisa, that Biden is at least open to sticking around for 8 years. What? Like, you're not doing us a favor by even running. This is hilarious. He's like, I'm kind of busy 4 years from now, but I think I could fit the United States in my schedule. Yeah, I think I could fit the United States in my schedule. What's going on? Are you guys okay 4 years from now if I continue running? Because I'm busy, It's like, you're not really even, believe me, it's okay. You know what? Don't fit us into your schedule. How's that? Trump's going to win. You know this. It's going to be Clinton versus Trump again. But, I mean, the narcissism is hilarious. Well, he's open to going 8 years. He's open to going 8 years. Okay. He's open to going 8 years. Oh, that's good. That's good. I mean, that's very nice of him. So he's going into this thinking, I want to find a running mate I can turn things over to after 4 years. But if that's not possible or doesn't happen, then I'll run for re-election. Oh, well, don't strain yourself. We don't want to bother you. Why would you? This is hilarious. Valerie Rogers! The press continues to confuse them. Yeah. Exactly. I mean, they're utterly confused. They don't know what to do. They just want him to have a miserable Christmas because they're miserable that they lost. I mean, the economy is doing well. The foreign policy is a lot better than President Obama's foreign policy. He's scaling back U.S. foreign policy. He's addressing a $400 billion trade deficit with China instead of the Trans-Pacific Partnership, that's how the Democrats wanted to address the trade imbalance. The Trans-Pacific Partnership with Tufts University, 400,000 jobs would have been lost in the Midwest. That's just one estimate. But here, he's going into this thinking, I want to find a running mate I can turn things over to after 4 years. Why would you assume that your running mate would defeat the Republican? They live in a fantasy world where they just want Trump to go away. Orange man, go away, go away. In the meantime, Biden is keeping his on-the-record answers on the second-term question vague. Vague? You're running, and you're not even really into a second term? That's like telling your fiance, yeah, it'll be nice if we last, but, if we don't, it's all good. Whatever. It's all good. You know what I mean? I don't really want to commit to lasting, you know what I mean? Wouldn't want to do that. This is absolutely hilarious. He's not even committing to it. I'm not going to make that judgment at this moment. He doesn't know. He's not going to make the judgment about a second term. He told the Associated Press in October, and on Wednesday his staff tweeted what amounts to a non-denial. Joe Biden's own staff tweeted lots of chatter out there on this, so just want to be clear. This is not a conversation our campaign is having, and not something VP Biden is thinking about. What? Biden signals that he would serve only a single term. Oh, yes, it is. That's exactly how Democrats work. When President Obama, through Politico, when Politico ran a story, it said President Obama would intervene if Bernie Sanders became too influential. That's exactly how they work. Sandiford! Sleepy Joe strikes again. Why is he even here? Pretty much. I mean, it's kind of hilarious. It's kind of hilarious. Ladies and gentlemen, Clinton is running again. Clinton is running, and I'm going to say it again. I'm going to say it a million times until the actual day where she's officially, formally, whatever, however you want to call it. She's basically announced like a million different times. I'll defeat him again. Then Bill Clinton says, well, I'm the only person up here not running for anything. Oops. Then you have the Howard Stern interview. I mean, it's like there's a whole bunch of other pretty overt statements. But here, for starters, if Biden thinks there's a chance he simply won't be able to hand the job in 5 or 6 years, he should realize there's a chance he won't be able to do it in 2 or 3 either. Being president is hard. It tends to age politicians politically. So, I mean, you have a situation where Biden shouldn't gamble on this ability to fill the role. Beyond all of that, serving a one-term president will vastly diminish his power in office and possibly set back Democrat policy priorities. It's not a fix for anything. Yeah, it's definitely not a fix for anything. I mean, it's pretty hilarious. And this is really hilarious. It's like, why is this even taking place? Why would you even run if you're not willing to go 2 terms? That makes no sense at all, other than bolsters exactly what I've been saying since 2017. So here, one of the most important parts about being a first-term president is running for re-election. It gives you leverage over your party on Capitol Hill. Since lawmakers want you to nab that second term, or at least don't want to anger primary voters by denying you legislative wins and undermining your chances. Okay, so President Trump not only is going to win and go 2 terms, but he has close to around a 90% approval rating. A 90% approval rating. He has a 90% approval rating within the Republican Party. Okay, nobody is wearing no malarkey shirts. I can tell you right now, ladies and gentlemen, there are no malarkey shirts out there. It ain't happening. Okay? There aren't any no malarkey shirts. It just ain't happening. Okay? How many people do you know wear a no malarkey shirt? How many people do you know say, gosh, Biden is inspiring. He's really inspiring me. It's interesting because it's like, you look at this presidential election, you say to yourself, okay, none of this is real. Except Trump's campaign. The Democrats, this is hilarious. O.J. Clinton, the best in America in one name. Thank you. Thank you, O.J. Clinton. Thank you. Hope all is well. Thank you very much. Greatly appreciated. Thank you. O.J. Clinton, everyone here, it's going to be a really, really interesting election year. And it's not going to be fun if you're a Democratic voter. It will not be amusing. It will not be fun. It will not be invigorating. it will not be a pleasant experience. O.J. Clinton, the best in America in one name. Thank you. One of the most important. So then you can implement legislation that takes a while to get up and running. And even if opposition to Congress, even if the opposition takes over Congress, you can still use the Justice Department and regulatory agencies to push change. So Slate is actually admitting that the Justice Department implements. And then he said, Donald Trump, for instance, cutting, no, not for families, for individuals who don't have any children. But anyway. Best yet, barring a geopolitical disaster or recession, sitting presidents also tend to win re-election. Of the 11 post-World War II elections involving one, the incumbent has won 8 times. The record falls to 8 of 13 if you include years Harry Truman and Lyndon Johnson chose not to seek effectively would have been third term. The power and prestige of the office, combined with status quo bias among voters and many people's basic unwillingness to admit they might have made a mistake the last time, they call, no, the issue is that Trump is a good president. That's the issue. That's the actual issue here. The issue is that Trump's a good president. President Trump is a good president. Okay? That's what's really going on. And the Democrats don't want to admit that. They can't admit that because their fantasy world where democracy and the republic and the Constitution and our values are all tarnished by Trump, that's in their minds. The average American is actually doing a lot better, especially economically now, than at any point in the 16 years prior to President Trump. They're not going to say, oh, well, we want to go back to a more establishment Democrat or Republican. That's why Trump won. So that whenever you hear like, oh my God, Trump tweeted this, can you believe this? Can you believe that? Can you believe this? It's like, yeah, that's why he won. The fact that Democrats are the fact that they're just completely unable. The fact that they're unable to understand why Trump won is the reason he's going to win again. But all of this stuff there's even articles that are positive about why Biden's one term is a good thing. So there was one article here. He won't be running for re-election. Biden advisors claim Joe would only serve one term. Joe Biden would serve 2 terms if necessary. If necessary. Oh, that's great. That's fantastic. That is fantastic. Vanity Fair. Joe Biden hints he'd be a one-term president. The Federalist, Joe Biden may pledge to serve one term. There was one article today that said it was actually a good thing. And the article is the following. The article is basically... The article is basically, it's a good, it's a good thing that Biden only wants to run one term because then he could go ahead. I'm trying to find it right here. Then he can go ahead and allow his vice president and a very, very liberal and wonderful group of talented leaders into leadership positions. So what he would be is the equivalent of a fullback in football, allowing everyone to just, because Biden's no malarkey bus tour is so important. And it's like, no, if those leaders exist, they will win on their own. They don't need Biden. So it's like, Adam Bomb 31458, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Trying to find this. Okay, so Adam Bomb 31458, thank you. Thank you very much. Adam Bomb 31458, thank you. Bucolic Buffalo, thank you. You see the UFC fighter show support for Trump? That's right. And the crowd cheered. Yep, that's right. That's right. That's right. Oh, there's a couple of UFC fighters that are pro-Trump. Actually, a great number of them, Bucolic Buffalo, thank you. Adam Bomb 31458, thank you. I know Colby Covington is a huge Trump supporter, and I know that there's a lot of great UFC fighters who Jorge Masvidal has said good things about President Trump, a lot of good things. A lot of great fighters have gone have said amazing things and supported President Trump. So hold on, let me find this Bucolic Buffalo. Oh, okay. So wait, it's another fighter. That's right. Bryce Mitchell. So you look at what's taking place. And Bucolic Buffalo, thank you. Adam Bomb 31458, thank you very much. Thank you very much, as always. Thank you very, very much, as always. Adam Bomb 31458 and Bucolic Buffalo. Mitch Mo, H.A. Gunman. Love you, bro. Thank you, Mitch Mo. Thank you very, very much. Mitch Mo, thank you. Bucolic Buffalo, thank you. Adam Bomb 31458, thank you. Thank you all very, very much. It's happening, folks. Mitch Mo, everybody, it is happening. It's happening. I don't understand how you can possibly. This is quite an insulting type of thing to tell. If I'm a Democrat right now, I'm livid because you have to understand Clinton is going to be the nominee. But what they've done is they've created this absolute farce, this absolute theatrical performance. And now it's like, I've been trying to find this article. I can't find it on my phone. I can't find it here. The rationale is, and this is like they're so off, is that Biden going 1 year allows other Democrats to win. How? Because he'll become president and he'll put other people in leadership positions. But see, it doesn't work that way. That's not the way politics works. You don't promise one. You don't go into it saying you're not into it to win it for you're not trying to succeed. See, that's very bizarre. Carl's opinion. Hey, Mr. Goodman Mods in chat. Thank you, Carl, as always. Sad part is that I don't think Biden, with his health issues, could even make it through a first term. I think, Carl, I think he could. I think he could. Further, as a lame duck on his first day, he would have no political capital. Exactly. The issue is, of course, Clinton is going to run. But he would have no political capital. He would have no political capital at all. And first term Biden would be Nero or Caligula. Well, Caligula's running. That's after impeachment. Stan Lippman, thank you. So Carl, I actually think, I actually do think that he could actually, theoretically, he could probably go 8 years. But it would be like Reagan towards the end of the 8th year. Bucolic Buffalo! 'Tis the season, brother. Keep up the good work, man. Thank you so very much for always watching Bucolic Buffalo. Greatly appreciated. Greatly appreciated. Carl's opinion, thank you so very much. Mitch Moe, thank you. Bucolic Buffalo, thank you. And it's going to be a really fantastic year. Bucolic Buffalo, it's going to be a great year for everyone. And I'll tell you why. I want Adam Bomb 31458. Thank you. This is my God. Thank you all. Thank you very, very much. Adam Bomb 31458. Thank you. Bucolic Buffalo and everyone here, Carl and Adam Bomb 31458 and everybody. It's that song. Now I don't know if everybody knows the song. It's by MC Breed, one of the great rappers of all time. It's Ain't No Future in Your Frontin'. And it's a great anthem for life. It's a maxim. It's actually a philosophical viewpoint on life. Don't pretend. I didn't pretend. When I was a Bernie Sanders supporter, I was hardcore. When I'm a Trump supporter, I love President Trump. I want him to be successful. I want him to be, I want our country to be successful. Okay? I want us to succeed as a country. I want us to be happy as a people. And you know what? If you lose an election, you have to regroup. It's just like a football game. Bucolic Buffalo and Carl and Animal 31458. It's like a football game. You lose by a field goal at the end of the game. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Go to the NFL office? Go to the NFL? Go to the commissioner and say, "Well, what can I tell you? This happened, and the referee, and you know what? The referees, did us in, and the field wasn't good, and the wind, you guys were in charge of, this and that, and you don't do that in sports. In fact, how many times in sports? You could look at the Tuck rule. Obviously, Brady's the best quarterback of all time. I never really wanted to admit that, but in the beginning of his career, look, the Raiders probably should have won that game. Okay? Because that was, Rod Woodson, right? That was a sack and a fumble, and the Raiders recovered, they would have won. Okay? But that's life. Raiders also got the Immaculate Reception. So there's a lot of things, but they also got wins that were pretty amazing too. But, Adam on 31458 and Bucolic Buffalo and Carl, do you in life, what can you do? If a police officer stops you and you weren't speeding, but they say you're speeding, what I've always said is God bless you, do what you have to do. And that actually works the best. Like, they respect that. And sometimes it's like, just one time in Los Angeles, a motorcycle officer stopped me, and I think I just, turned. I don't know what I did. It was very minor. He ran out of tickets. The man ran out of tickets. He goes, "This is your lucky day." I ran out of tickets, and I didn't get a ticket. So, But what do? Sometimes you lose in life. And I'm not talking about tragedies. I'm just talking about you lose a poker game. You lose in politics. You lose in sports. You just lose. And you have to rebuild and pick yourself up. And you have to learn from your mistakes. Michael Jordan said the best thing that ever happened to him was losing to the Pistons and losing, certain games. And he learned from that. But Democrats, it's never their fault. Do you understand? Do you understand? Do you understand it's not their fault? Do you understand it was Russia? Do you understand it was this and that and space Martians and everything? It's never their fault. Ever, 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 ever. It's never their fault. Never their fault. It's always someone else's fault. It's always someone else's. You can't win like that. You can't win by saying Trump is orange and bad. And it's someone else's fault. We were cheated. They cheated Bernie Sanders. They cheated Bernie Sanders. I will say this every day. They cheated Bernie Sanders. Okay? Here lies H.A. Goodman, and then in quotes, they cheated Bernie Sanders. So, it's like they will never admit their treachery. They will never admit their treachery. They will never admit that they are to blame for their failures. That's why they will continue to fail. Theoretically, in Bucolic Buffalo, thank you again. Thank you again. Carl's Opinion, thank you. Adam on 31458, thank you. Exactly. That's pretty good. The issue is that if Democrats had simply focused, now I used to want Medicare for all because I thought it was feasible. You have the Mercatus study, you have another study, Urban Institute, you have the fact that Democrats are not championing it because they know it's not feasible. But why don't you just pass legislation in the House? Theoretically, they're going to lose to Trump miserably. But let's say if you want a game, I'm actually going to give them the secret to winning. They're not going to take it, but whatever. They didn't listen to me in 2015, and none of them will listen to me now. But focus, even if you don't think it's possible, it'll stop. The Senate will make sure it doesn't get to the president. Pass a Medicare for all bill, even if the numbers don't make sense. Pass a Medicare for all bill. Why don't you pass an abolish ICE bill, even if you know that it's not feasible? Pass a Green New Deal legislation. Pass it in the House. You control the House. This way, you can go into 2020 and say, all of our most exciting, provocative, energizing, noble policies we have passed in the House. Can't you see our record on legislation? Because then you get certain publications are like, Trump says it's the no do Congress, but Democrats have passed a litany of bills. It's like, well, no, these are not the bills that the most passionate voters within the Democratic Party voted for. That's not what gets them enthusiastic. But again, they don't have anything to run on in terms of legislation because they're essentially Republican light on most issues. They're not going to implement a Green New Deal legislation. They get money from the oil and gas industry in Wall Street. So why would they ensure that they would never get the funding again? They're not going to pass a Medicare for all bill because then they would have to scale back U.S. foreign policy, and you wouldn't have the Max Boot, Bill Kristol foreign policy because you cannot have an interventionist foreign policy and Medicare for all. Even if Medicare for all was feasible, you can't have a Max Boot and Bill Kristol foreign policy and Medicare for all. It's not feasible. It is not feasible. So But that's the thing. They don't run on policies. If they ran on policies instead of pure contempt for Trump, they could theoretically win. You need to give people something. This type of politics doesn't work for Democrats. It doesn't. Democrats need voter turnout. They didn't get the voter turnout. I mean, they got 65 million votes, but you have New York and California, and the rest of the country, he got 30 states. Trump got states that hadn't voted for a Republican since the 80s. Okay, Trump got states that have not voted for a Republican since the 1980s. So, I mean, if you're the Democratic Party, you don't stand. They don't stand for anything. They don't stand for anything. And Clinton is going to run, like I've said, since 2017. And you know what's going to happen? I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. Madam Secretary is not going to give me, well, it actually might work out better for me. You know what's going to happen? It'll be like, it might not even be like an initial announcement. It'll be like, Madam Secretary forms a committee to look into possibly running. And then I'm like, hey, it's happening. It'll be like, it's almost happening. And then people will still be like, she hasn't announced yet, man. Chillax. Relax. Like, it won't just be, okay, fine, I'm running, fine, I'm tired. You want me? Fine, I'm running. It'll be like, people close to 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 Madam Secretary, to people close to journalists who know Madam Secretary that she's running again. And I'm telling you, if you're a progressive, still watching me, God bless you. I love you. Thank you for watching me still, even though I'm a Trump supporter. But I'm telling you something right now. I remember on Facebook when Bernie had to concede, and I was a part of like a whole bunch of Bernie groups, and it was just like cataclysmic. So much infighting, so much unhappiness. It was like, and the liberal Democrats enjoy, like they get a thrill out of the vanquished. They get a thrill by saying, I mean, and you see this, like, I don't have Twitter, I don't have Facebook, but you see this on social media. Like, you still see I'm with her people saying, you'll eventually bend the knee. And the sad reality is that 90+% of Bernie Sanders voters and Elizabeth Warren voters will vote for Clinton. Within the difference between Bernie and Elizabeth Warren is that they'll vote for Clinton. One will vote for Clinton in a split second. One will take a couple minutes. Gene Wakefield, thank you. Thank you, Gene. Thank you, Gene Wakefield. Thank you. Thank you, Gene. But it's like Biden is going to run. It's really hilarious. He's running for president allegedly. Under the banner of a one-term, like usually if you're a one-term president, you're viewed as a failure. If you're a one-term president, people say, well, what happened? Daniel, thank you. If you're a one-term president, people say, well, why were you a one-term president? What happened? Why didn't you go? Why weren't there two terms? Who goes into a marriage saying, well, we might, what? Let's look for a divorce in about 7 years. How's that? Okay. Marriage on 3. 1, 2, 3. Yay, marriage! Who goes into a job and says, and one of my amazing subscribers today said something to the effect like, oh yeah, hire me. And trust me, I'll be there at least 7 months. Probably leave by the 8th month, but whatever. I mean, it's so absurd. It is so absurd. It is so absurd. It's so ridiculous. I mean, if this is not confirmation, this is confirmation. I mean, we already knew Clinton was going to be nominee, but this is confirmation that Clinton is running. In addition to the poll that says she's above Biden. And then people are like, she's not even running. It's like, no, she's running. Biden's really not. You got it mixed up. They got it mixed up. Then they go on these profound tirades on the truth, a post-truth moment, a post-truth. What happened to decency? It's like everybody knows Biden is not even running. So, this is just hilarious. And by the way, if you're 80 years old and you watch this, God bless you, thank you. I don't care how old a person is. If a person is 90, 95, I would vote for the person to be president if he or she, was sharp and, just as with it as everyone else. I mean, you mean to tell me that Beto O'Rourke is a lot more lucid than Biden? Well, maybe, but barely. I think Biden also, he does this is his whole thing is an act. So I don't even think that Biden, he needs to get Sanderford, case in point, Gerald Ford. He needs to, what Biden is doing is he has to portray the image that he wants to run while at the same time make himself unelectable. So it's actually a pretty amazing, a really, really amazing political stunt. It's a really amazing political stunt when you think about it. George Rivera Jr. Do you think that Michelle O and Hillary C might end up? No. So I believe George Rivera Jr., thank you. I think it's going to be 100% Madam Secretary Clinton will be the nominee. I think that perhaps in the future Michelle Obama will run for president in the future. I think that, but not this election. I think that President Obama and Michelle Obama are waiting for both Clintons to basically for Madam Secretary to lose to Trump and then obliterate the Democratic Party, and then they'll rebuild the Democratic Party. Oh, I know what you're doing. I know what you're doing. You think that once we run again and we lose again, you're going to take over the Democratic Party. Well, guess what? We're running in 2024 again. What's up? They're running in 2024 again. So George Rivera Jr., I think that President Obama is waiting for Clinton to lose again to Trump. I really do. Who benefits the most? Even more so than Trump. Really, who benefits the most? Who benefits the most with Clinton losing? Obviously, perhaps Trump the most, but who benefits almost as much? It's President Obama. Because the Democratic Party, he will effectively wrestle control away from Bill and Madam Secretary. So, George Rivera Jr., thank you. The funny thing is, you have an intelligence community, you have media, you have political parties. They're all running on this, deception. They're all running, 10 different objectives in one day, and people take it at face value. Like, you don't have to come up with any grandiose theories, or just look. Biden is saying he wants one term. That's not normal. That's insulting. Do you understand? That is insulting. Have you ever heard something so absurd in your life? George Rivera Jr. and Bucolic Buffalo and Carl's Opinion. Have you ever heard something so ridiculous and absurd in your life? Mika, thank you. It's in our country, we go in to win. We're in it to win it. We're not in it to, when's the last time you heard like a football speech, like Newt Rockne, you're like, man, we're going to go in halftime with the lead and whatever. If you don't want to win, in the second half, that's fine. But that halftime lead, we need that. But coach, don't you want to win the ball game? No, I'm tired. You're tired. Relax. Go, we'll go have, relax. You can go in the stands. You don't even have to play anymore. But halftime is where it's at. Like, nobody does that. Nobody does that. It doesn't even happen. It doesn't happen. That's not even like what is even that's not even what is known as a sound political strategy. But God, I'm trying to find this. I've been trying to find this. Okay, so hold on. Joe Biden, Washington Post. Okay, I think it was in the Washington Post. Oh, yes! Yes! Why Joe Biden only needs one term in the White House. Oh my God, this is fantastic. This is a great article. But let's assume for a moment that Biden has in fact had these conversations, even if they've concluded. Before I start criticizing, let me be clear in some cases. That's because unlike some other candidates, Biden isn't offering a vision of comprehensive policy change. He argues that what America needs isn't a revolution, but a reset. Okay, so we just need to get Trump out of office, and then things can get back to normal. Biden will be that normal, seasoned, steady. Talk to the Elizabeth Warren supporter that he went after. Seasoned, steady, and willing to reach out to Republicans to govern in a bipartisan manner. Trump signed the First Step Act. He signed many bills. Once prison reform legislation is a progressive, a liberal, it's a left-leaning. Actually, no. I mean, it was very much bipartisan. Once they awake from their fever dream and recover their sanity. No, this is sanity. Actually, what Democrats are going to realize is that this is sanity. Their version of reality doesn't exist. Russia trying to tell us that Bernie Sanders was cheated is not reality. That's not reality. Aldo, thank you. Yeah, I still have technically a sports channel, but it's not. I don't even know how many subs I have on it. I'm waiting for at least a couple thousand subs on my sports channel. I might, when Clinton finally runs and the channel picks up, I'll tell people to subscribe to that channel as well. In addition to H.A. Goodman's other channel, which I have a really good channel on that. But yeah, Aldo, thank you. I will see. I'm trying to start a sports channel, but it's been very, very slow with it. So I don't want to upload anything until I have at least some, base of people there. But thank you, Aldo, for asking. So here, if that's how he conceives of his presidency, it's perfectly reasonable to serve as a caretaker for 4 years, then pass the torch to a successor. That's not what Americans want. Why would you serve as a caretaker when there's record low unemployment? and GDP is up, and jobs and wages are up. Why would you serve as a caretaker? What he does or doesn't manage to achieve on policy is of secondary importance. What matters most is the return to stability. We're already stable. The media is not stable. The media itself has had a meltdown. Democrats have had a meltdown. Hollywood has had a meltdown. So what? The average American doesn't really care. Oh, thank you, Eric H526. Thank you. So, you might think that's all America needs, or you might see it as a lost opportunity. There are many Democrats who believe the next time the party holds the White House, it shouldn't be ambitious to try to achieve the most dramatic and sustainable progressive policy change possible. If that's your belief, Biden probably wasn't your candidate anyway, but the idea that he would serve 4 years and then depart likely convinces you even more that he isn't getting the sights of his presidency high enough. Well, yeah. We're not the presidency is not known. A one-term president, you don't put in the same category as a two-term president. Like, even with Bush's tremendous failures, and he, in my view, is the worst president we've ever had, he was still a two-term president. So, well, whatever. That's an anomaly because he was the worst president ever, and he shouldn't have had 2 terms, but whatever. You can make your own judgment about whether Biden is, well, who knows? What you can make your own. No, he shouldn't have had 2 terms for sure. You can make your own judgment about whether Biden is as sharp as he used to be. It's something we see again. This is all nonsense. Biden knows he's not going to be nominee. This is all a charade. If they're smart enough to convince tens of millions of very intelligent people that Russia wanted you to know that Bernie was cheated, they're smart enough to convince people that Biden really wants to become president. I agree with you. Clearly clever. I agree with you. Bush Jr., the worst. The worst. Political Fantasy League. Yes, CG3, SSF. Exactly. Oh my God. Trump would be like, like if your first pick in the draft, you'd have to get Trump. Oh, goodness gracious, everyone. So, let's see. I don't know, like, for me, this is one of the biggest news stories of the day. And most people are like, what? Yeah, Biden wants 1 term. Yeah. What? I'm like, don't you realize that's Clinton running? What? Oh, well. I don't know. I don't really, she hasn't decided yet. I mean, no malarkey. Hashtag no malarkey. Like, this is, a sign from God. At what point do Democrats say, this actually isn't happening? This is all actually a theatrical performance that it ain't happening. At what point does that happen? Like, at what point do people say, oh, this is hilarious? All right, let's just look. Impeachment has been an utter failure. A complete and utter failure. So this is really, really, really hilarious, too. Democrats do away with bribery and Mueller and Trump impeachment articles. But is that the smart play? Yeah, it's the smart play. Want to know why? Because there was none. there was no bribery or this is hilarious. They couldn't even impeach Trump on the 3 years of what they said the intelligence community came up with all of this stuff. Sandiford! A stealing word. Yes, historically impossible. Yeah, exactly. Sandiford, you're exactly. Exactly. I agree with you on that. Exactly. Cole Wilson, hello. Hello, hope all is well. Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing about what's taking place now is you have so many people. Oh, and by the way, when Clinton runs, like I've always stated, it's only going to take about 2 weeks to crush and decimate and level and obliterate and steamroll any opposition on the left. It won't take long. I witnessed it with my own eyes and my own heart and soul, and I saw it. Trump supporters, conservatives, I should say, or Republicans, conservatives, independents, Trump supporters, you compare all of these people compared to Democrats, just lifelong Democrats, whether you're progressive or liberal or an anarchist, whatever. Lifelong Democrats, it's two different types of people. If you're voting Democrat, the notion of falling in line is like a moral obligation. If you're voting for Trump, it's not a moral obligation to vote for Trump. You're doing it because, for a lot of reasons, one of the biggest reasons could be you can't stand the Democratic Party, but you're doing it because you want a scaled back foreign policy. You want somebody who will address the trade imbalance with China, but you want a scaled back U.S. foreign policy, a non-interventionist foreign policy. That's why you're voting for President Trump, and you want a great economy. That's why you're voting for President Trump. So you don't vote for President Trump. Like, people don't say, well, I'm voting for him because of his personality, even though I like his personality. People vote. See, also Democrats are kind of hilarious. They're like, well, it was other countries that made you. See, this is the thing also with like, oh, news, that's false news. It's not real. They're so worried that a contrary narrative or an opposing viewpoint might influence the minds of people who could possibly vote for them. But it doesn't matter. Like, it's not the information. It's the fact that Democrats lack an actual policy position that is enticing to people, that people want. What are they going to say? We're going to not have record low unemployment? We're going to allow the trade deficit with China to grow to $1 trillion instead of $400 billion? What are they going to say? We're going to keep Americans overseas forever? What are they going to say? They can't talk about Medicare for all because they don't want Medicare for all. They're just deceiving voters. So, I mean, they're not interested in policy. That's the issue. They're interested in public relations, but that only goes so far. Trump doesn't care about public relations. Trump has managed to, this is really interesting, and I find this absolutely fascinating and hilarious. Trump has managed to make negative publicity, turn it into positive publicity, which is absolutely hilarious. He's managed to make negative press, turn it into positive. I mean, that's just, I think it's amazing. Thank you, the ceiling. Thank you. So, it's interesting also seeing how people react to the Democratic primary. Most of my friends are Democrats, and I let them know, I'm like, Clinton's running, and they roll their eyes. They don't want to hear it. It's kind of like, you're going to get a root canal, so enjoy it. Oh, I don't need a root canal. My teeth are fine. No, you're going to get a root canal. But it's like they don't want to. The average Democrat is like the one of the like people that don't have a very good day in the Friday the 13th movie. Like the characters you see that like in the beginning of the film that you no longer see after like 15 minutes. They're like they're like, what's behind that door? I don't even. Do I really have to look? I mean, honestly, yeah, you got to look. You got to look behind the door. It's Madam Secretary. Enjoy. If they just focused on policies, they could have a chance of defeating Trump. But they can't focus on policies because they don't really have any. They don't have any that their voters find energetic. Their most interesting or provocative policy ideas are not feasible. Medicare for all is not feasible. If it were feasible, they would have passed the bill. They're doing it to deceive their most idealistic voters because they already cheated these people. And then these people believe that, well, that was just an anomaly. It's like, no, why would you? And I know the feeling too, because then they'd have to turn into me, or they'd have to turn into a person either supporting Trump or allowing, or, you know, with tacit approval, a second Trump term. So, Frank Franklin, yes. Madam Secretary is definitely running. If anything, I mean, today is confirmation, everybody. How do you go one term? That is an insult. Nobody says, I don't want to go to the World Series. Nobody says, you know, AFC Championship, that's enough for me. Or no, I mean, American League Championship, it's enough for me. National League Championship's enough for me. In fact, I mean, you know, you look at the Buffalo Bills, and they had an amazing run. 4 straight AFC championships. I give them a lot of respect for that. But they didn't win the Super Bowl. So, you had 4 straight AFC championships. Pretty amazing. Now, if the Atlanta Braves hadn't won their World Series title, how many National League pennants did they win? Let me find out. How many it was like consecutive National League pennants. How many? Atlanta Braves pennants. So they've won. Okay, so let's see. Come on. Why can't I? Why is this difficult to? How many? Oh, Atlanta Braves. How many National League championships? $18 divisional titles. Wow. 18 divisional titles. I didn't know they won 3 world. This is interesting. In Boston, the Boston Braves in 1914, I didn't know that. I know that 1957, Milwaukee Braves with Hank Aaron, I know that. And then, okay, 95, but all throughout the 90s, I mean, they were just getting to the World Series all the time. Now, the Atlanta Braves record in the 90s, I'm on their website now. All right, so this is really interesting, actually. They were 6th place in 1990. They were last. Then 91, 92, 93, 3 straight divisional titles. 94, they didn't get it, but 95, they won the championship. And then you go 96, 97, 98, 99, 2000, 2001, 2002, 2003, 2004, 2005. They kept winning their division. Had they not won that championship in 95, they would not have been viewed as, you know, that the same type of team. Really, they would not have been viewed. But my point is, you just don't go into it without going into it to win it. And Biden today basically stated, look, I'm here just as a placeholder for Clinton. That's not hyperbole. That's exactly what he said today. But he did it in the public relations liberal manner. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much, everyone. God bless. To my super chat, thank you very, very much, everyone. And it's been a great evening. I will see you all tomorrow. December is going to be a great month, and January, February, oh my God, this coming year is going to be one of the most amazing years in American history. And it's going to be really interesting. Give me your thoughts below. Definitely tell your friends about both of my channels, H.A. Goodman, of this channel, of course, and H.A. Goodman's other channel. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great, great evening.